From The World as I See It by Albert Einstein. The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science.
Welcome back to the Reading Room Ruffians, your favorite library podcast. It's Mallory, bringing you this sweet, sweet intro. My devilishly dreamy BFF Ariel is here with me.
I crawled up from the pits of hell just for this episode.
Her supreme overlord Carla is ready to pique your curiosities with some weird places, but she's going to have to wait like one more minute.
Oh, God.
We are recording from our library in Jackson County, West Virginia. Zach, Carla's handy-dandy notebook for today, is joining us from Seattle, Washington.
I like how I get the Blue's Clues reference here.
I didn't even get that.
Blue's Clues is the best, okay?
It is the best.
No, it's not.
Only
thought
with
of it-
Steve, though.
Yeah, I thought of it last night. I was like, none of us really match, so it's fine.
Apparently, the drawing part was like how they went through artists all the time.
Yeah,
it's so hard.
apparently that was like really hard. It's really, really hard, apparently, to draw that quick.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Draw what that quick?
Like in the notebook.
Oh.
That's insane. There was nothing to the drawings.
I'm aware of this.
Today, Carla and Zach are going to be highlighting some weird places, so buckle up and get your library passport. It's going to be a bumpy ride, maybe? But first, Ravenswood's next VR night is just a day away for y'all, May 14th at 6 p.m., and they're going to do some underwater exploration. There's no signups or age limits, so we highly encourage going to learn how to use it. They're really fun. Then we'll be having 80s Trivia Night on May 16th here in Ripley at 6 p.m. That'll be obviously fantastic.
Oh, yep.
And we are excited to announce a local author signing for a newly published and very local author, Andrew Smithson. His new book, Journey Through Elysia, is a new fantasy novel we are certainly excited to read through. His signing will be this weekend, May 18th, and he'll be in the Ripley location from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can find information for all of that and more on our library's Facebook page at facebook.com/WVJCO Library. You should also follow us on TikTok and Instagram at WVJCO Library. For more Reading Room Ruffians fun, you can search up our Facebook group at Reading Room Ruffians Podcast, as well as our Instagram page, which is at Reading Room Ruffians. Check out our podcast Goodreads page, which we have linked in all of our episode descriptions, along with our personal Goodreads pages. All right, let's go.
Okay. So are we ready for this? There's quite a few mysterious places around the world. They're not like all paranormal. They're just weird.
Yeah.
It's like, why is it like this? Why, like, do trees grow this way? Or why does the water disappear? Anyway, it was really interesting to look into this one.
Podcast road trips.
You know what? Really,
Exactly,
though? We need to start going on some. Like, that's really real.
There's a Bigfoot festival coming up in June.
There's also the first Grafton Monster Festival this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Where in the world is a Bigfoot festival?
And Sutton.
Sutton?
Sutton.
I wonder if there's any around here. I've never been to one.
I'm sure there
There's
is. You're
gotta
like
be,
a
no, right?
Problem
hotspot.
with my accent.
Yeah. There has to be.
Bigfoot festival.
Remind me after the podcast to tell you one that I just ran across in shorts today. It was like so funny. So which one do you want to start with?
All right, so I've got the ones in the order I have them in the doc. So
Okay.
the first
that works.
one we can talk about is the Crooked Forest. So the Crooked Forest, or in Polish, I'm going to do it. You ready?
Go. Yeah.
Krzywy las.
What?
Krzywy.
One more time.
Krzywy las. That's how they say it in
Bless
the
you.
pronunciation guy. Krzywy. I don't know how to say it. It's spelled, just so you guys know and so the listeners know.
Yeah.
Krzwywy. So.
And then LAS.
And then LAS, yeah.
I would not have even tried it.
Well, I had to listen to the pronunciations a few times to get something. It's a grove of oddly shaped pine trees located in the village of I think it's now Zarnowo, near the town of Grafino, West Pomerania, in northwestern Poland. And it's a protected national monument of Poland. So the basic vibe here is we've got about 400 pine trees that were planted back in the 1930s. And many of them are bent at like 90 degrees, and then they turn north for 3 to 9 feet. They're bent 90 degrees downward towards the north, and then they start curving upwards because, like, they're trees. They just grow up, right?
Yeah.
And actually,
That's wild.
I'm not sure if you guys can... I was just going to send you guys stuff in the chat.
Because I got to save these pictures for our listeners.
Yeah, so if you guys want to... describe what it looks like for us.
I want to go.
It looks like they got blown over by the wind for a really long time and grew that way.
I think a lot of them look like fish hooks almost.
I was thinking chairs.
Chairs too.
Yep. They're pretty cool looking. There's another wood called the Dancing Forest, which is in Russian. It's a bunch of trees just twisted all in different shapes. And they're pretty sure that one's caused by basically it's called pine shoot moth caterpillars damage the pine shoots apical buds at an early stage, causing them to start growing at an odd angle from their lateral buds. And then they eventually correct themselves. They grow
those
wild.
Are like curly cues and
things.
everything.
Yeah, they are wild
That's
ones.
the dancing forest.
Yeah, the dancing forest.
They're really cool
I loved them.
because they're like all over, and there's no particular direction that they
Yeah.
they twist in.
Those ones are just wild looking. The crooked forest is a bit more strange because, I mean, it's not as interesting looking, but they all go in the same direction, basically.
Right. This one is just like everywhere.
I don't know. I think that's pretty interesting because how do you get them all to do that?
Well, they don't. Not all of them do that. There
Right,
are some.
yeah.
There are some that.
But there are
are
just so many
yeah.
of them, and
There was a curse laid upon the land.
I mean, there's a lot of these places. There is like legends and stuff associated with them for people try to explain it, and maybe there's a weird feel to the area. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be some kind of geomagnetic anomaly or something that I don't know.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of theories about how it happened. Some of them are a little bit less believable than others. One of them is that gravity is strange in the location. But, like, that's obviously not true. I mean, you can go there and walk around.
See, that's what, that was one of the theories. Either the gravitational pull or they were all buried under, like, really heavy snow.
Yeah, that was another one that was buried under a very heavy snowfall that bent the trees. But nothing else around there is affected by that, so it doesn't seem like it's probably snow. So the best guess...
It's just on that one spot.
Yeah, the best guess is that somewhere around when they were 7 to 10 years old, they were sort of bent over or manipulated in some way by the local farmers, and nobody knows why they did that or why they would have done that. It seems real weird.
Just to mess with people's heads.
I mean,
see, I think that's almost just like ridiculous as there being a gravity.
Oh,
issues.
no, the gravity thing that's nonsense. The snowfall seems more likely than that.
Yeah, but I mean, the farmers going out there. Now, why on earth would
I
you
don't
go out
know.
there
Maybe
and
it's just a bunch of kids were
trees?
like,
I don't know. Crop
stomp on
circles
them.
I think that about crop circles too. Like, why would people go out and just do that?
Because they
do.
do.
I mean, like, I feel like some do.
people do.
I don't
Some people
think
do,
all
yeah.
of them do,
Yeah.
but
I was gonna say, we watched
that's...
documentaries
Well, yeah, I know,
on this.
but it's like that's not the most of them.
I just think that takes way too much time, especially like to get them all perfect without breaking.
I don't know how
Those are not the ones that are done
those
by
are not
people.
the one. Yeah, I guess not.
This one makes sense to
But
me
even-
because, like, I
even
mean,
still.
like if you look at the trees, it looks like they've been broken over and then just kept growing. They didn't die. I don't know. If you look at them,
Right.
it looks like they've just been bent over and they didn't die, so they just kept on growing. They're very resilient. They're all a bunch of pine trees. I've seen pine trees sort of look like this before when they've fallen over and then kept going. They usually curve up. They've broken up and,
Both the crooked forest and the dancing forest, they are pine trees.
Yep, they're pine trees. I'm not sure if that's because it's like easier to bend stuff like that because they're softwood or whatever, but or they're just
I
like
don't know,
more
maybe.
susceptible to things. I don't know.
Are more resilient to the
Or more resilient. Yeah, that
stresses
could
of
just be
being
they.
bent. Yeah.
I mean, they got to deal with all that
Yeah,
snow
they
and
can
stuff
handle
and
it
the
better.
cold, and might as well be resilient to getting stomped on by farmers. I don't know. Anyway, so that's the first one. It's pretty cool looking. Would like to go there. I saw a review on there. When you Google this, if you just look for the Crooked Forest, right? One of the only reviews I saw was, let me just get it here real quick. It was basically saying, I don't know why this is a national monument. It's not even all the trees. It's just a few trees. This is dumb. So, if you ever want to go there, they were not impressed by the Crooked Forest at all. And I don't know why it's not coming up now, because I saw it like all yesterday when I was looking for it.
That's really funny.
It was funny though. Like it's not even all of them. Stupid. 2 stars. So even if you are a mysterious place with cool trees, doesn't mean that you're going to get
when people go to Yellowstone
good reviews.
And they leave bad reviews. There were no bears visible. You should train the bears to come see the tourists.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously, people.
Okay, let's train them.
Let's just do that. Somebody watched Open Season one too many times.
Anyway, though, I thought it was funny. So we can go ahead and go on to the next one. The next one is called the Taos Hum. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Taos or Taos? Anyway.
It's Taos. You're
Taos.
right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Taos.
So the Taos Hum is a low-frequency noise heard by residents and visitors to Taos, New Mexico, that's been happening since the 1960s.
I thought it was the 90s.
Sorry, 1990s,
Has it been the 60s?
I have 90s written down,
Okay.
but yeah, the 1990s. So it's not heard by everyone, and according to some self-reporting statistics that were done back in 95, only about 2% of the people can hear it. There's many theories about what's causing the hum itself, such as government experiments, mechanical sources, underground bases, low-level seismic activity, UFOs, etc. All kinds of stuff. But none of these have any evidence supporting them whatsoever, obviously. There's like no evidence for anything. In fact, there was a study done later on, I'll talk about here in a second, but the noise wasn't even in the mainstream until a resident named Katanya Salzman, Katanya, that's a good name by the way, got fed up with the noise and reported it to the Taos News, which is like the local news. And after that, there was a flood of reports sent in, and that eventually convinced New Mexico Representative Bill Richardson to launch an investigation. His staff put together a team of scientists led by Joe Mullins from the University of New Mexico, and I swear, like, I've seen a bunch of sites that talk about how it was like a huge team of scientists. They got people from all over the place. There's only 2 guys from what I can tell. There's Joe Mullins and another guy, and they're just from the University of New Mexico, so it wasn't this huge, big investigative team. But anyway, he tasked them to monitor the sound's acoustic, seismic, and electromagnetic energies to see if there's anything there. And the result was that there was no acoustic or seismic source of the hum at all. They couldn't even detect it. I have the paper here, actually the original paper where they did this stuff in it, like the study, and they did a bunch of like testing with people. They found out it's somewhere between 30 to 80 hertz, and they got some really sensitive sound equipment to be able to measure sounds within that area, like that region, down to like negative 60 dB, which is, the sound of a mouse thinking or something like that. It's super quiet. Anyway, but there was they didn't detect anything with their seismometers aside from like, underground creatures and stuff like that, and then nothing on the mics. So instead, they decided to do a survey to find out what people are hearing, and it turns out that there wasn't a single identifiable Taos hum. There's like a few different things, but people reported like a whir, a hum, or a buzz. And it was strange that not everybody was reporting the same thing. And it sort of makes it seem like it's like a subjective experience, like it's put in somebody's... Basically, you hear something, you didn't know that it was there, and then once you get suggested that it's there, you start to hear a noise. But the best guess is that it's some sort of weird thing like tinnitus, where it's only affecting some small population. It's not an actual physical noise. It's something that is messing with their eardrums itself, whether it's tinnitus or something else like that. But it's not something that
could it be like pressure?
I guess it could be some sort of pressure-related thing, yeah. It'd be interesting to see if the Taos hum people... Go ahead.
If it's messing with their eardrums, and it's not necessarily a noise, I would assume it would be something like barometric pressure or something like that.
It could be something weird about the pressure there, sure. But they had to vibrate in some way, I don't know. But, so they did a bunch of studies. They looked at a bunch of different locations of the general area to see if there was any locality to it. There's not really a huge amount. Like Taos has most of them, but there's regions around there that have the same sort of thing. It's weird that if it's like a tinnitus type effect that it's such a low frequency, but I don't know why nobody followed up with this. So they did this study back in 95. It hasn't been followed up on at all. Yeah. The scientist, it was
there was one in 93 too. That was it had the University of New Mexico.
I think it's the same thing. They just released their stuff in 95.
National Laboratories, Phillips Air Force Laboratory, and the Los Alamos National Laboratory were all involved in that one.
Yeah, so that's what I heard, but then I looked more into it, and I can't find any people from those places. Maybe they lent them equipment.
Oh, it doesn't mention names in this one either.
Yeah,
I
think they just lent them equipment because the people who wrote the paper on it was just two dudes. It was Joe Mullins and James Kelly.
There was a documented case from the mid 1800s, though. There was
of a hum. Oh no, this hum thing happens apparently all over the place. Like people hear a hum in locations. This is just like the first time it was big in the U.S.
It says that a famous healer, a holy man, and a hermit, Giovanni Maria Agostini Giustino or Giustinani or something like that, passed through the area and climbed to the top of El Salto. I don't know if that's pronounced right. And he wrote in his journal that he just had heard the singing waters of the sacred mountain. I guess the ones that were underground. And described distinctly hearing 7 notes of the musical scale and as like nature had played a tune on her holy mountain. So
interesting.
Anyway, it was a long, endless tone that changes as you climb upward, which I thought was kind of odd. So maybe what if it is just water running underground?
You think they would have like picked it up somewhere? That's the weird thing.
You would have thought, yeah.
If it's like detectable by our ears, we should be able to hear it with microphones, and nobody's found it with the microphones, or at least nobody's done anything. I looked at the spectrum; it looks just like whatever stuff, you know.
Yeah. Maybe we're not really they're hearing it with their ears. Maybe it's something else, and they just think they're hearing it with their ears.
That's another possibility. It's like some sort of weird
something else.
sensory conflation here. It'd be interesting to have the people from Taos to like take them away and see if they still hear anything, or if it like fades or whatever.
I don't think they do, because it says the only way to deal with it if it's driving you crazy, which I imagine it would drive you nuts, is to move out of the area.
Yeah.
And they don't hear it anymore.
Also, I want to go so I can see if I can hear it.
Yeah, same. Podcast road trip.
Yeah.
We'll eventually get it on there.
Yeah.
We'll go somewhere eventually.
Keep pressing.
Anyway, it's a weird one. So I would like to also go there and see if I can hear it. I saw a couple articles where people did claim that they could hear it when they went there. I don't know. But the descriptions are all different, you know? I don't know. It's difficult to tell. It seems weird.
Because what if you heard it when you went there and then it wouldn't go away?
That's a fair.
That'd be bad.
I mean, it can't be any worse than my tinnitus right now, so.
That's what mine.
There are ways to treat that. You need to look into some other things.
Yeah, mine's not constant. Just every now and then my ears will ring.
Mine
and
is
I just go,
constant and loud. Like I have very limited hearing range right now.
Mine's happening. But it's not like
I stick my finger in my ear and go, bleh, and it fixes it. So try that, Zach.
I'll get on that.
I think there's some kind of minerals or something you can take that'll help with it. I can't remember what it is. I'd have to look it up again. But anyway, go ahead.
Cool. Moving on. We got something called the Hessdalen Lights. Hessdalen Lights. Or Hessdalen Lights. I've heard it pronounced both ways. So, the Hessdalen Lights are unidentified lights which have been observed in a 12-kilometer or 7.5-mile stretch of the Hessdalen Valley in rural central Norway periodically since at least the 1930s. It could be older, but that's the earliest documented cases.
Yeah.
So they appear both day and night, and they seem to float through and above the valley. They're usually bright white or blue, yellow or red, and can be seen above and below the horizon. It just depends. The duration can be a few seconds to well over an hour. Sometimes the lights move with very huge speed, and other times they seem to sway slowly back and forth. They'll pulse, and occasionally they'll hover in midair. So if you guys want to, let me see if I can just send you this on Signal so that you can take a look yourselves at some of the pictures. Okay, so I sent you guys the thing, which is their the website that investigates this stuff. They keep a record of all the pictures and stuff like that. So if you look at the main page there, would you please describe what the lights sort of look like?
Is this for number one?
I don't know, just in general. 1, 2, 3, just what do they look like in general?
Dots.
Glowing worms.
So dots and glowing worms.
Yeah, no, I've seen that before, though.
The orange ones look like a forest fire.
That does sort of look
yeah.
like forest fire, like at night. So basically what we've got here...
The blue...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, this first blue one kind of looks like what the northern lights would look like if they were just, like, waking up.
There you go.
You know what kind of also
If
looks
the northern
like?
lights are blue, we've got lots of issues.
Well, I mean, like, you know how you see them, like, it just looks like they would center there and then just start, like, seismonicking
They kind of look
out.
like infrared images, too.
I think it looks
yeah.
like electric because when a transformer or something blows, you've got that blue electric light, and you don't see the blue light very often, unless it's something in the deep sea. It kind of looks like the plankton and stuff that.
That one looks like
It's the
whenever
same sort
lightning
of colors
hits
like
sand.
that plankton, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the reason that they're all spread out like this, it's actually usually just a dot or a small orb, whatever. The reason it looks like
It's
this...
a time lapse.
It's not even a time lapse, it's a long exposure.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see it here, and it like fades in and out or wiggles around or whatever. So you'll see, at least in a lot of images, it looks like it's like a very long string. It's not. It's just a dot that flashes back and forth. But this is what people always show as the Hestalan lights, and it makes it seem like it's something it's not. If you look at the videos, because people taking tons of videos of these things, they just look like little dots that are moving across the sky, which is kind of strange. And actually, in the pictures column on the left-hand side, we'll put this link in the episode. They have a bunch of people who have investigated the pictures and the movies, and if they have a good explanation for them, they'll say that.
I'm going to open up this video. I don't know if it's going to play noise. So I just want to give you a head. Oh, it won't let me see it. It says unable to play.
You probably can't play it on your phone. So they're like they're AVI format. I don't know if you can play that on phone. Or MP4. MP4 you should be able to, but anyway, so they're interesting looking. They're really cool looking, and they've been documented like hundreds of times. Like these are things they're falling off now, the frequency of documented sightings. I'm not sure if that's just because people don't go outside as much or what, but
Outside, gross.
yeah,
They also have similar type lights in North Carolina, the Brown Mountain Lights.
I've never heard of those.
Now, some of those have been just, explained as like train headlights or like car headlights or taillights. But if you look at the ridge that they're being seen on,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you're going to get a road at nowadays. I mean, it's just like nothing. So I don't know what it would be reflecting off of. But they actually still have viewing locations where you can go along Carolina Highway 181 and pull over and watch them.
Interesting.
I don't know. I kind of
And
want
it's
to
not
see it,
every
but I don't
night,
know
but
that I would
it's-
want to see it.
No, I think
It's
it'd
not
be really
every.
cool to see.
So you got that UFO thing going
I
on. I mean, because I really don't know what it is, and I don't think these are really so much UFOs. I think it's some kind of natural phenomenon we just don't get.
That
Yeah.
is the best.
What if we
guess.
chase it down like a storm chaser?
I don't think they say.
Why has nobody done that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I bet they probably have. They're just not published because people think they're wild.
No, I saw one. It was not an official documentary, so you can only go so much with that on the Brown Mountain Lights. And these people did follow it or try to follow it, and they just kept finding caves, like little cave.
Huh.
So I don't know.
Weird.
But in all the folklore, it tells you don't follow the lights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like,
Don't
what's
chase them through the forest.
Yeah, I know, because that's how you get kidnapped. But
Yeah.
nowadays,
I mean, honestly,
I'm feeling with the state of the world.
Yeah, I'm fine.
following the lights.
I'm fine. Let's go.
what are this lights called?
I can't afford to survive. We're following the lights.
That may not end well, though. You don't know.
I think staying here trying to survive on this economy.
It's too much.
That's why we don't have road trips.
Dang it.
All right, getting back to these ones. So some of the sightings are explained by known objects, such as planes. Some people are just silly and don't know what planes look like. Or the sun peeking through the clouds. But most have no direct explanation, either because of lack of interest, low quality images, or it's just we don't know what this is. So some of the explanations are basically, all right, combustion of airborne.
I mean, there's always your the UFO angle. There's always that.
I mean, there's always the UFO angle. Yeah, UFOs. That's one of them.
Yeah.
But I've got, for the more like, I guess, ground-based things, some incompletely understood combustion of airborne dust from mining in the area. Possible, This is what people thought back in, I think it was earlier, like in the early 2000s, I think, something like that. But anyway, it was solved, they say, in the mystery of the Hesdalen lights is solved or whatever. But it doesn't seem to be the case. A hypothesis from 2010 suggests that the lights are formed by a cluster of macroscopic Coulomb crystals in a plasma produced by the ionization of air and dust by alpha particles during radon decay in the dusty atmosphere. So obviously that could be a thing. Because we got that one right.
Yeah.
Basically, it's plasma. They think it's like plasma, maybe.
Yeah.
Caused by alpha particles, which would be interesting. I don't know why it would be just here. There would have to be something in the air specifically to cause that. Maybe it's just because it's dusty and there's a bunch of radon in it. I don't know. And then one of the most recent ones is piezoelectricity. So piezoelectricity is where you squish things and it makes electricity, basically, right?
But it gives you that blue color.
It can give you that blue color, yeah. So the estimated temperature of these lights is something like 5,000 degrees, if that's the case. I hear that, according to this, the spectrum is like weird. It looks weird, though, when they've looked at the spectrum of this thing. And I'm going to read off what they say about it. Oh my gosh, the central ball is white while the ejected balls around are observed are always green in color. This is ascribed to radiation pressure produced by the interaction between very low frequency electromagnetic waves and atmospheric ions present in the central white colored ball through ion acoustic waves. So basically they look at the spectra. It doesn't look like it matches up though very well with this, because the spectra, just so people know, is if you split up all the light into a rainbow, basically, right? You look at how bright all the different pieces are. That's the spectra. I mean, they look at that and it looks like it's flat, and then it drops off steeply on both sides, and they say it's due to the effect of optical thickness and on the Bremsstrahlung spectrum. And at low frequencies, the self-absorption modifies the spectrum to follow the Rayleigh-Jeans part of the black body curve. So basically, it looks real weird in spectra, and they're not entirely sure why that is or what could cause it. So the short answer is, this is still unexplained. We don't really know what's going on with it, but it's interesting, and I don't know why it hasn't been studied more. Maybe people just don't care enough to do so, or they can't get funding to do so, but it's a very interesting effect. Nobody really knows why. Because
there's a woo factor associated with it, so a lot of times
there is also that woo factor. Yeah,
I gotta say that I love that that's how that's referred to now. The woo factor.
Yeah,
I mean a lot of like top name investigative groups, they won't touch it because they think it'll taint their actual. Which is kind of sad because, I mean, that's how you find out stuff.
It is funny because a couple of times while we've been sitting here, I've thought to myself, not like saying that it is, but that's some witchy woo-woo stuff.
The issue with a lot of these things is that it costs money to be able to do it, and you can't get funding for doing stuff like this. But also, either because it's just not that interesting to any research groups, or there's that woo factor associated with it, So,
and a lot of times it'll have like amateur, and I use quotation marks around that, people that investigate this stuff, because sometimes your amateurs are your best investigators because they put the passion and the time, and they cover all their bases, and then you get your fly-by-night ones too. But it's like they're kind of discounted because they don't have a PhD or something like that.
Yeah.
And I like to bird a lot, go bird watching. One of the best research done on a specific type of bird was one woman who constantly watched bluebirds, and she would take notes and make observations. And when they finally realized that, hey, this woman knew what she was doing, it's some of the premier behavior for the bluebirds. So I think people that are really, really interested in something and put the time and look at it to try to find out the answers, or just strictly observe and write down their observations, there's where some of your best research is, because they don't fund stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep. This is definitely
I don't think
true.
it should be discounted. Yep.
No, it shouldn't generally be discounted. And actually, there's a big issue in academia for specifically this, like discounting the observations or whatever of enthusiastic amateurs. I mean, it makes sense in some things just because if you don't have the training, you can't really do the research correctly, but especially observational type studies like that, very good. They should definitely do that. Yeah. And equipment now is getting good enough that you can do some pretty good research about specific things if you want to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it really is just taking the time to learn how to use that stuff. I mean, it's not too hard anymore, especially with access to the internet and looking up, videos that people do to how-to stuff.
Yep.
I mean, it's all out there.
All right, let's move on because we've only gone through 3 of them, and I've got 10.
Oh, okay. No, and I actually have a couple extra.
And, yeah, exactly. So we've got a lot to get through. So I'll be quick through the next 1 or 2.
Okay.
Because they're not real. The Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they exist in the sense that, well, the other one just doesn't even exist.
You can make a triangle.
You can make a triangle. Okay, so for the Bermuda Triangle,
5 minutes at most.
You can make a triangle with the regions that they say, which is good. But basically, for those who don't know, it's an urban legend focused loosely on a loosely defined region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean, where a number of aircraft and ships are said to have disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The idea of the area as uniquely prone to disappearances arose in the mid-20th century, but most reputable sources dismiss this idea that there's a mystery at all. And the reason they do that is because it is not particularly dangerous at all, apparently. I think it was, is it National Geographic? Let me look here for a second. But basically, it's not even in the top 10 like most dangerous shipping areas of the Atlantic Ocean. So it's not that dangerous. Ships don't really disappear there very often. Planes don't either, like no more than any other place. It's basically just been played up.
I think there's a lot of reports that come out of there that are unusual enough that people take to pay attention and look for more without looking other places. But there's the same kind of triangle over in Japan or in that general area in the Pacific Ocean called the Devil's Triangle or the Devil's Sea.
The Devil's Sea, yeah.
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 And I think that was interesting though because it's like right on the edge of the Mariana Trench.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you've got really, really deep. I mean, what could be coming up out of that Marianas Trench? Well, after all the Fukushima radiation, it's going to be Godzilla. I'm sure of it.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I can't wait for us to read Rolling in the Deep now.
I love Godzilla. I would be that person that like,
you get the woo factor and the radiation. It's definitely going to be.
He won't hurt me. It's okay.
He's my baby.
Yeah. Like, like in Godzilla movies when he's like on the ground and he's hurt and there's like those people there, they're like, get up. I would run up and be like, get up, Godzilla.
If you need to eat me to heal, it's fine.
Yeah, I would gladly sacrifice myself for Godzilla. I love him.
Get back on track here. Basically, if you go back to the original sources, for the most part, there's no actual mystery for what happens to any of these boats or planes, for the most part. Some just like disappeared, and you're just like, where'd they go? But stuff disappears in the ocean all the time. In that the Devil's Sea one, there was apparently a big ocean liner that just straight up disappeared there.
The USS, I wrote it down. It was the USS, oh, shoot, I can't remember. It was huge, though.
I'll look it up real quick. Devil's
I can't remember.
Disappearance.
Oh, I didn't bring over my notes. That's the reason I don't have it.
Oh,
well.
While you guys are looking this stuff up, did you hear about the big, huge thing off of like the coast of Africa the day after the eclipse that was like underwater?
That they were tracking?
Yeah.
Yes, I watched that last night.
Gosh.
I didn't hear about that one.
It's massive. Like half the size of Africa massive.
They said it's almost like it was pretty much the size of Texas.
It's huge.
And it was this big, massive black thing that just was like floating up the...
That's why I had to look that one up.
Yeah. That wasn't really a weird place, but you guys were talking
about it. It was a weird thing.
It's just like a weird thing happening just now in the ocean. I was like, oh, yeah.
But anyway, it's I think what makes these so, I guess, memorable in people's minds is the people that survive and tell stories.
Yeah.
I mean, if the ships just went missing, or the planes, it would be one thing. But the fact that there's some people that make it through and there's all this weird stuff going on. So...
It's a giant cluster of waves over 80 feet high, spanning 2,000 miles. An area larger than Texas appeared to move through the ocean off the coast of Africa.
That's kind of
Wow.
strange.
And it lasted 24 hours before it vanished.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't find that ship anymore. I remember
It
seeing
starts
it like
with
when,
an O. I can't remember. But it really doesn't matter.
no,
what
it
the-
doesn't
I mean,
matter.
but
It was the thing
there
that
was
disappeared.
there
It was a big
was
ship.
yeah.
All right. Anyway, either way, though, at least the Bermuda Triangle is largely just, made up. But it is one of those things that as a kid you're very worried about. I remember growing up being very worried about that. Like, you got that, you got quicksand, apparently not dangerous either.
Yep, quicksand. Yep.
Yeah.
It's very disappointing.
Quicksand was always my thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really bummed that that's not more of a problem, though.
I'm not
really
just
isn't.
because my anxiety could probably not handle
It's
it.
wild.
I think sucking mud is worse, where you get in stuck
you
in
just
it
stuck
and just
or
slowly.
And
tar
yeah.
Yeah, and you
pits.
can't. Yeah,
They took
the tar
advantage of
pits.
it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
All right. The next one. Just moving on because Bermuda Triangle is disappointing. The Well to Hell. It's an urban legend regarding a putative borehole in Russia, which was reportedly drilled so deep that it broke through into hell.
Oh, is that the one that has the screaming sounds?
Yes. It's first tested
Okay.
in English in 1989 and broadcast by a U.S. domestic religion-based TV broadcaster from the Trinity Broadcasting Network. So the basic idea is here. The people who talk about it say that this hole was found by some Soviet engineers led by somebody named Mr. Azakov, and they drilled a hole in Siberia that was 9 miles deep. At that depth, they broke through into a cavity, and then they thought that was weird, so they sent down some thermometers, which measured temperatures of around 1,000 degrees Celsius, which is about 1,800 Fahrenheit. And they sent down some heat-resistant microphones into the hole to investigate and heard the screams of the tortured souls of hell. The truth is, the Soviets did actually drill a hole around 7.5 miles deep. It's called the Kola Super Deep Borehole, which is in the Kola Peninsula, not in Siberia at all. And the recordings that they had were some looped together sound effects, probably from the movie Bear and Blood. But basically, it's just straight up a made up story based sort of on the borehole that they did dig. And none of it is real, which is kind of annoying. But the reason it's famous is because it was picked up by the American tabloids, like just this story, and then it was broadcast on that Trinity Broadcast Network, which was using it to claim that hell was real. It's like a proof that hell was real. So I heard about this one a long time ago, and I think I heard the recordings. I didn't actually listen to them yesterday.
I've heard the recordings, and
it's creepy sounding.
it is.
It's a made up story though, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it didn't
I
really
heard-
fit in with the rest of these things, unfortunately, because it's not really a place, and it's not even a real place. Like, you can't go there because it doesn't exist. There's another place like that later on. Oh, it's the next
What
thing.
is the Mel's
Mel's Hole. Okay.
Oh my god.
There we go. Go figure. Mel's Hole is another urban legend, which is purportedly...
What is with these names?
I don't
Well,
know,
this
but the
one
last
makes
time you
sense.
talked about the other one, it was all I could think of was Supermassive Black Hole.
That's a good song.
Da-na-na-da-da.
All right. So it's
Anyway, go on.
apparently a
gotta get
bottomless
this
pit.
man.
Carry on.
It's a bottomless pit near Ellensburg, Washington. Claims about it were first made on the radio show Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell in 1997, so you know it's very legit. And it's
I like Art
called
Bell.
he's fine. I like Art Bell. It's just I'm saying, like, the stuff in there is not all legit. Let's just go with that.
I know.
Anyway, the guest who called in and talked about this was named Mel Waters, so that's why it's called Mel's Hole. He claimed that he owned a rural property 9 miles west of Ellensburg in Kittitas County, Washington, that contained a mysterious hole. Waters claimed to have measured its depth using a fishing line and a weight, although he had still not hit the bottom by the time he had gone down 80,000 feet.
Is this the dude who put a sheep down there?
No, that is a different thing. There's all kinds of these mystery hole
Okay.
type deals.
Okay.
But
Well, it sounded like the guy who put the sheep down the hole.
He also said that there was a neighbor's dead dog that had been seen alive sometime after it was thrown into the hole. So
Oh,
Dun, dun,
I'm not entirely sure we
dun.
can believe this guy. That's my point. He came back to the show for a
That's cemetery all over.
few more times in the early 2000s, and this has led to some propagation of the myth, but he never specified the exact location of the hole. As despite this, several people claim to have seen it, such as Gerald R. Osborne, who used his ceremonial name of Red Elk, and he describes himself as an intertribal medicine man, half-breed Native American, and white.
Well, that's a mouthful.
And he told reporters in 2012 he visited the hole many times since 1961 and claimed the U.S. government maintained a top-secret base there where alien activity occurs. So, again, maybe not, like with those sort of credentials, maybe not the best guy to be trusting for this. There's been no real serious investigation. No serious investigation has ever been able to locate the hole. According to the State Department of Natural Resources geologist Jack Powell, says the hole couldn't even exist because it would have collapsed in on itself. Also, just as a general thing, I did some math, and you can't even put down 80,000 feet of fishing line because it's too heavy. It'll break itself. Just to give you...
I can't imagine having 80,000.
I mean, you get a few spools.
Fishing line.
How are you just going to, where is he getting it from? Is he making it? What?
So basically,
Tie it together.
you can go to Home Depot or whatever. Or Bass Pro Shop. You go to Bass Pro Shop, you buy 80,000 feet of fishing line. But I checked, and it's going to weigh...
That's expensive.
It's going to weigh 100 pounds. Just the fishing line itself.
Well, then you have to get the deep sea stuff because...
So this is the thing.
Stronger.
It would be stronger, but it would weigh more, It's like...
I know.
It's not going to work. So this is straight up a made-up thing. And also, local news reporters who investigated the claims found no records of anyone named Mel Waters ever residing there or owning any property in Kittitas County. Also, if you look this up a little bit more and you look at the different holes that people claim they saw, they're all different holes. They're different holes, and they're from different places. It's straight up a made-up story, and people took it seriously, and it's kind of funny. But it's close by. So I was good. When I first read about this, I was like, oh man, I'm going to go there. Could have
been your road trip.
It could have been my road trip. So, but it just doesn't exist.
We'll chip in and get you some fishing line. Well, I have a real one.
You have a real one? Okay, if you have a real hole, please talk about the real hole.
For reals?
This is called Devil's Kettle. It's a it's a river and a waterfall in Minnesota. And when the water comes over the waterfall, there's a place it drops into, a deep hole that drops into, and so half the water is gone. I mean, it just disappears. It doesn't go over the falls. Mm-hmm. And they have tried dyes and like ping pong balls and all kinds of things they put into this to find out where it comes out later, and they can't find where it comes from. Now, shortly down the creek, a little bit farther down the creek or river, the water increases again. So it's coming out of somewhere. But they don't know what could be so intricate and involved, like whether it's a deep cavern system or something where the water's going into, that they can't find where it goes and where it comes out at.
That's
just, I mean, it's really
cool. Can you not just put like one of those air tracker thingies from like
GPS tracker?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they've tried stuff.
They've tried GPS trackers in this hole before. Yeah, it does not work.
Oh.
The current could be so strong too that it just tears it up. I mean, there's a river in England called the Side or Sid or something like that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's basically a river that has been turned sideways on itself, and it's only like, I don't know, a couple feet across at certain points, like for these long stretches. But it's like really, really deep.
Interesting.
And if you fall into it, you are not getting out of it. I mean, it's like a death trap.
What do you mean turned on its side?
It's like if you took a river that was flat, okay?
Yeah.
And then the earth shifted so that it was like up, like vertical instead of horizontal.
Uh-huh.
It's that same width of the river and that same amount of water, but it's funneled to that really narrow chasm.
So it like shoots through there at high pressure.
Oh, yeah. And there's all kinds of stuff. And it's like, you're just dead. But, and we were, when the last eclipse, we went down to Tennessee, and on the way back, we stopped at this cave that had a lake at the bottom of it, which was really cool. So we were like, oh, yeah, this is so cool. We went in and we went down on the lake. You could take a boat out on it. And they had these giant trout in it because they had tried to figure out where the water comes out at, because it obviously doesn't keep filling up. It's going out somewhere, and they can't find it either. They don't know where it comes out at. And the fish didn't leave. They just hung out, and now they're stuck feeding these fish.
That's kind of
like
funny, actually.
They're like 2 feet long.
Oh, my gosh.
They're huge fish. But, I mean, there's a lot of caverns and stuff that we don't know about. I mean, the Earth's more
Oh, yeah. It's like Swiss
intricate
cheese
and
down there.
amazing than we think. Yeah.
Swiss cheese.
Pretty much.
It's all over the place. But so the regarding the Devil's Kettle thing, yeah, like they've tried bunches of different ways to like figure something out about it. When you finally got a couple of people who did the research for specifically the volume of the water, right? And it is like Mama said, like it rejoins at some point further down the river. And the people said, oh, well, in order to confirm this and make sure that we're getting all the water or whatever, we're going to put some fluorescent dyes in there. And this is going to work over the color dyes because fluorescent dyes, you only need a tiny bit to be able to see, right? Because you can take it out of the water and then you can zap it with a laser and it'll glow, right? I used to do this. It gets very, very bright. But they just never followed up on it. So it's like kind of disappointing they didn't just do it.
Oh, they didn't? Yeah.
Like they just did the math and they're like, oh.
Fluorescent dyes.
No, they used colored dyes previously. They never used fluorescent dyes. So, but yeah, this is the thing that could have definitively proven it, and they just were like, and never did it.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not even that expensive.
No, this was, I mean, I heard about this, I was like, I'm just going to go do that. It's easy. I know a guy who has a laser.
Our halfway point road trip.
Podcast road trip. Yeah. She's entertaining the idea, guys.
It's just it's silly. It is silly, and I don't understand it. Anyway, they should have just done it. Like it's kind of a frustrating follow up because they just never actually followed up on it. All right, the next one here is the Al Nasla Rock. So the Al Nasla Rock is a landform about 50 kilometers south of the Taman Oasis in Saudi Arabia. It's split down the middle into two parts, both balanced on small pedestals. The overall shape of the rock is due to wind erosion and chemical weathering, probably. And it made it possible...
I don't think so, but that's okay.
Well, we're going to get to it.
Okay.
And if you look at it, it looks like two great big rocks floating on two tiny pedestals, or one big rock that's been split in two. So if you guys want to describe it, I sent you the pictures of the first one, the first thing I sent you.
I've been looking at it.
It's like perfectly split in two. I don't even...
It does look like it's been cut down the center, but I know rocks can crack.
They
straight
can.
Like that. And then sitting up there that long, the erosion and everything that would happen, that would smooth it down.
Yeah.
But did you look around at the area that this rock is in?
Yes.
That's where you have all those carved rocks where people have carved like Petra and stuff like that. So I'm thinking maybe this is when they started.
It does have a painting on it, though.
I think this one was probably done by people. Somehow.
A horse. It's got a horse on it. So I mean, it could have been
because it's like all this. I mean, those other structures, those rock carvings, and so are amazing. They're absolutely amazing, and it's that same general region. So I think that one. I think we did that.
I mean, it's technically possible we could have done it.
All these rocks.
Some people suggest that it's human made. I think the main issue with that one is that it's like it'd be very difficult to make a crack that deep. Like you'd need some wonky tools to get there. The most.
I also feel like. Go ahead.
The most widely guessed thing is that it's split in two by a joint, and that's it's a natural origin in a layer or body of rock that lacks visible or measurable movement parallel to the surface of the plane of the fracture. So basically, it's a break of natural origin. So it's a break that's not moving left, right, up, down. It's just a crack that goes straight down through a rock, and they just happen, apparently. But that's the most likely explanation that people said, and it's just gotten weathered away. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Yeah. I was just going to say, the more I look at it, the more perplexing it is for me. Like, my brain just is like,
it's because of the way it's balanced, too. It's perfectly balanced on those two little...
And then it's just perfectly straight. I feel like even if it's such a big rock, breaking that perfectly...
It could happen.
I mean, it could. I
don't think it's as likely as
it being
carved. That's not perfectly... I don't know. That's just...
Yeah, I think that
I don't know how I feel about it.
It's interesting.
Really cool,
it's a really cool looking thing. If you look at the second link I sent you, it's got pictures of other things that are very similar to it, or at least both sets.
Yeah.
Like they've got pictures of these joint fractures, right, that are pretty much straight up and down. And if you look, there's actually some of these other balanced stone things, and you can see how they've weathered away and have gotten more and more unstable over time. But there's bunches of these sorts of things where they're balanced funny.
The old photo on top of the new photo. That's kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
And that's just a year's difference, it says.
Yeah. Actually, on the back of the Nazca rock that you see, there's another joint fracture that is pretty much parallel to the first one, and it's just broken off a chunk of the rock. So it's just like, it's kind of crazy looking, though. Either way, I mean, it's one of the coolest looking things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, this is just a really cool one. There's not really a good, like, I mean, people got explanations for it. It's almost certainly not that aliens came down and carved it in two, though. I'll tell you that one.
Yeah.
No. Well, if you look at it really close, too, I mean, yeah, the way it's placed and positioned, it's the same rock, but the two sides don't look alike.
They don't.
Mm-mm.
No, they look completely different. One side is basically completely flat, and the other side is lumpy.
Yeah.
So,
which is
and
kind
the
of crazy.
fracture lines on those don't line up either, which I guess they wouldn't have to, but still.
Yep. It's just very strange
I think it's
looking.
a neat one. I really like that one.
I would love to go see this one. It's one of the cool, weird places that's it's probably something natural, or it could have been, I guess, carved out by people, but it's just very interesting looking. I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think we need to jump to supernatural things. So the next one.
No, not on that one.
No, the final big one is the Zone of Silence.
That you have.
I have. For me, yeah.
I have a few other ones.
The Zone of Silence. So basically, the Mapimi Silent Zone, or La Zona del Silencio in Spanish.
Which is a real place because they have a road sign.
It is a real place, yeah. It's a popular name for the desert patch near the Bolson de Mapimi in Durango, Mexico, overlapping the Mapimi Biosphere Reserve. And it's the subject of an urban legend that claims it is an area where radio signals of any type of communication cannot be received. Okay, so the big question for this one is twofold, right? A, why is it called the Zone of Silence? Where did this come from? And B, is it actually a zone of silence? So, I've got a story. You guys ready for the story time? Okay. So, apparently, this dates back to a missile test in 1970, where the U.S. military base in Green River, Utah, fired an Athena missile south towards the White Sands military base, and it encountered some sort of problem or had some faulty equipment and ended up in the state of Chihuahua, which is 400 miles past that, close to where the reserve is. And locals saw a flash of light and something falling from the sky. Some people thought it was like a fallen angel or something like that, or just like a weird thing that happened in the sky. It apparently scared some dude's cows so badly that they broke out, and he was very mad about that.
Well, yeah.
But after this, the U.S. military came in all secret-like to retrieve the missile. They didn't tell anybody anything. They were just being all creepy and stuff. They hired some locals and to go look around for stuff. They flew over the area for about 3 weeks before they found it. And, of course, they didn't ask anybody, like, local if they'd seen anything because they wanted to keep this very hush-hush. It landed basically in a sand dune, and the military removed the missile in about half the sand dune by making an extension to the local railroad and left an airway there and about half that sand dune that they had made temporarily for planes to land on. So they were being real secretive. There's a huge amount of military activity there for like weeks, and then it all just disappeared. So after that, people were obviously very curious as to what happened, why the military had been there, why they were so secretive, but nobody was telling them anything. Nobody in the local government, nobody from the U.S. government, nobody was telling them anything. And they just left his stuff there. So eventually it just creeped into this story where people have said, basically, and I don't know how it like extrapolated this far, but, you know, the military left, people were left with like some information vacuum, so they started filling it with whatever stuff. They said that there's an electromagnetic vortex that distorts electromagnetic waves and or pulls them in, that it attracts space debris, and that local flora and fauna are mutated, and that it's a place where extraterrestrials communicate. I found a dude who wrote like a good article about this where he went there. And at least for the mutation stuff, it's like mostly natural things, like these are things that actually do happen in nature. But one of the examples that people always give is that there's this one guy who's huge, right?
Yeah.
And it's probably the only guy that they ever met from the reserve for the most part. And he is apparently a big guy, but all of his like cousins and stuff who live there also are just like normal sized people. So he's just huge. And nobody seems to like put that into perspective that he's just like kind of a big guy and everybody else is like normal sized, but they say that giant people live there. Anyway, the guy says he went there and he's had no issues with like radios or anything. They could communicate just fine. So it seems like it's mostly just a story, from what I can tell. I would like to go there and test it out myself, but that's what it seems like.
I have watched like videos where people go there and they do lose cell signal, but we lose cell signal in the backyard.
Yeah, I feel like cell signal's a bad thing.
Yeah, but no, I also saw where they report somewhere where there's like an unusually high number of meteorites that land there as opposed to other places.
Oh, well, that's the thing of pulling in space
like
debris.
10 or 12 times, the amount, but it's like there's enough of a difference there than compared to other places. It's like there's more there than, say there would be like 5 there and the average is 3 for areas.
Interesting.
But I mean, it's like I don't have that in front of me, and it could have been on a video, and you never know. It could have been on the History Channel 15, 20 years ago. I don't know. But I do remember that sticking in my mind. It's like, well, that's not a safe place to be.
Nope.
It's like raining rocks from the sky.
Yeah, kind of weird.
Yep.
Okay, that's basically all the big ones I've got personally. This one's an interesting one. It seems like it's mostly a story. I want to go there, though, personally, still. It'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, it's something you could, because it's within, the area of driving. I mean,
flying.
Technically, yeah. Flying would be easy.
It's like, we don't have to get on a boat. You don't have to get on a boat,
No.
Okay. I had
so you got a few, you said.
Interesting one. Yeah, in case we run out of time, I want to do the Richard structure in the Eye of the Sahara.
Oh, I've heard that.
Have you heard of that one?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, it's a series of concentric rings, and I'm really not sure exactly how it formed. I mean, there's been several natural geological explanations, but there is a gentleman on YouTube. He has his own channel. It's called Bright Insight. His name's Jimmy something. I can't remember his last name. Anyway, he puts together a really compelling argument that this could have been Atlantis. Yeah, because of the way that the topography is laid out and stuff like it. You've got your circles just like it describes by Plato, and you've got the mountains at the north and the big plain and the 3 colored rocks. I mean, there's a So that's the reason I wanted to add that one, because it's pretty cool. He's very compelling. Very compelling.
If you have not seen this, it is very cool looking.
It is.
Sent it in the chat again.
Say, I can just
it's very
looks
cool.
like a bullseye.
It's enormous.
Yeah.
It's enormous.
Yes.
Apparently, the best, natural explanation for it is that it's a raised geologic dome, an uplifted geologic dome characterized by layers of sedimentary rock that have been exposed for millions of years. So you got a big thing that's eroded away.
But that
basically.
I think that didn't explain the center circle the way it was. Anyway,
it's cool looking.
There's a lot of natural, but I mean, it's like we build on natural things anyway.
Yeah. I mean, somebody could have built something on there.
And there is a great deal of salt in the area, like where the sea had came in, deposited salt, and then because they go there to harvest salt, not necessarily there because that's in the middle of literally nowhere right now. But the whole area has a lot of salt deposits, like surface salt deposits, not like the kind you had to dig into the mines to get. So anyway, I would highly recommend Bright Insight on this one because he has done some serious research and it's very, very compelling. And I didn't want it to be Atlantis because I wanted it to be somewhere else, but daggone, he convinced me that that's a distinct possibility.
Yeah, apparently they found evidence of stone tool manufacturing and hand axes and things in the surrounding landscape. So, I mean, there was people there, at least at some point.
Yeah, but there's not a lot. There's like, it's like, it is so isolated. But it's really cool. And you can see it like on Google Earth. I mean, it's amazing.
It's huge. Well, it's 31 miles across. I don't think we've said that. It's enormous. And most notably, the Grand Tour went there recently. The people from Top Gear.
Oh,
they
really?
made a joke about it because it was so big. They're like, somewhere around here's the Eye of the Sahara, and they were driving around on it. So,
yeah, it's so big you can't see it while you're there.
Yeah.
No, you can't see it. It's huge. You have to be up in the air.
It's that big.
Yeah,
there's another place that I thought was really interesting. They're called the Chocolate Hills in the Philippines.
Yeah, I saw these things.
Whole series,
it looks cool.
Yeah, a little domed like hills, like little mountains. And what I found interesting about it, the reason they call them the chocolate hills is because in the fall, when the foliage dies back, they look like little chocolate.
Yeah, it's like little brown hills.
It's like it's
Right.
really, but there's no trees and stuff on them. I mean, there's trees all around, but
That's
on these little
weird.
domes, it's just like grasses or brushes. I can't remember what was actually on it, but it's in the dry season. They turn brown. So I really would like to go to this one. They finally built a, I guess, a big tall platform you can climb up on and to get a good view of it. But it is just like, I'm like, that is so cool. And there's mythology associated with it. Yeah. About a god falling in love with a mortal woman. And then I guess when she died or whatever, or rejected him. I can't remember how the thing went. But he was crying, and those are where his tears fell.
Oh, that's cute.
So, yeah, but it's like they're really. I mean, I would love to see them.
They are very, very cool looking. Especially in that when they're brown and the surrounding trees are all green and stuff. It looks really neat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really neat.
Apparently, they're from an uplift of coral deposits.
That's
And
what they
then they've
say, but to
been
me that
eroded
just
away.
didn't sound.
I don't know why
look,
there's
I'm
no
such
trees
the
there. That seems
geologist
kind
here.
of strange.
It didn't seem. It seems like they were grasping for explanations, and not just it's like if you see UFO, it's always swamp gas. To me, this one had that type of feel to it about the explanation.
Yeah.
Not that there's probably are limestone and coral, but
Yeah.
it seems like there was more to it than that simplified
Yeah.
version because of the way they're laid out and stuff like that. And
They look cool though.
they do look cool. It would be really cool to see. And I don't think there's any kind of mysterious goings on.
No, I don't
It's
see
just a
anything
neat-
about it. When I was
it's just
looking,
a neat
Geological-
geological formation. Yeah,
it's very
So-
cool looking. It is very cool looking.
it is.
Would love to be able to go
is.
there. It's a huge area too.
And-
So
It is. There's a lot. There's like I think it was over 1,700 of them. I mean, it's
a
massive.
lot.
Yeah, it's massive.
yeah, it's between 1,300 and about 1,700. There's a ton of them. Yeah.
And I had a couple more. We don't have to do the mountains, which I think is. Okay, when it comes to crazy explanations, we'll do this one. It's Mount Voatara in the West Carnelian Uplands, like in up near Russia, that general area. They have these giant boulders, and they're sitting on top of like little teeny pebbles, kind of like a dolmen, but not quite. And they're all over the place. And they were like, oh, it's because, that was glacier stuff. And then the melting eroded all this stuff. I think it makes a lot more sense that, okay, they came in on glaciers. And as the glaciers melted, there just happened to be little rocks underneath them. And they just kind of set down on them. But they went to this really crazy explanation of how it happened. And I'm thinking, that's just stupid because it would be so much easier if,
It was just this.
if it just as it melted away, there was rocks underneath them. Because the glaciers push huge amounts of rocks and gravel.
Yeah.
So, anyway, what do I know though?
Nothing.
Okay,
You're not
this
a
one-
geologist.
No, this next one, the Catatumbo lightning. Did you see that one?
Is that the one over the lake?
Yes.
It is
which
so
I
cool.
think
It is so cool.
The explanation is like made perfect sense to me. It's where the Caribbean Sea comes in. It's got all that warm water, and then you've got the cold air coming down from and it causes like this almost perpetual thunderstorm.
Yeah, it's like
That makes sense.
like a little
Yeah.
vortex where all the hot and the cold air is mixing, and it makes maybe makes this
But
huge
it's-
lightning storm. I mean, there's a huge lightning storm there all
Yeah.
the time, basically. But
Yeah, at like 140 to 160 nights a year. So like every 3 days, there's like a lightning storm.
Wow.
And it's so predictable that people have used it as like a lighthouse to help them navigate the area, people and ships.
Yeah.
Although I can't imagine wanting to navigate in a lightning storm, but
No.
I mean, I guess if you're in trouble, it would keep you safe. But it's in Venezuela. But it was like, wow.
That's cool though.
But it's like cool and creepy at the same time, even though it's totally natural.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, look
But
up
there's a lot
videos
of
of this
really-
place. It's really neat.
yeah. There's a lot of cool natural things that happen that we don't completely understand. That it's like, I think that's,
What are you
We
doing?
don't pay
I was
attention
trying to
to
look
it.
that up and
I'm sorry.
you was taking it away.
Well, I had another one. Actually, I had two more. I
Sure.
think there's just two more. Yeah. One of them I thought you would like, Zach. It's Tabby Star.
I know
Although I think
actually
they-
about the Tabby Star.
Yeah. Which is kind of cool. I mean, I think that it's not a Dyson sphere, but
No.
it's just dust or something. But I love the idea of it being a Dyson sphere.
Well, it wouldn't be a Dyson sphere with a Dyson swarm, but yeah.
Well, whatever. Yeah. To think that there was like...
Would you like to explain it for the listeners?
I can't. Anyway, there's a star in the Is it Kepler? Where's it at? I can't remember. Cygnus. It's in Cygnus.
It's in
somewhere,
Cygnus.
the constellation of Cygnus. Yeah. And when they look for planets, they look for a slight dimming of the star's light, and that lets you know that there's something passing in front of it. And with Tabby's star, it dimmed like 20%. It was a huge dimming. And at the time, they thought, what could explain that? There couldn't be a planet that big, that type of stuff. And the thing they came up with was maybe it's a Dyson sphere where a civilization has grown to the point that it can like harness its own star for like power. And
so they think
they think it's probably dust now that they've looked at it a little closer, just a really thick cloud of dust. But I like the Dyson sphere idea better.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
I like that better.
Yeah.
That's how you would be able to find like mega structures around other stars, is by the dimming of the light. And also this one was weird because planets are periodic dimming. This is just, it was dimming randomly, effectively. Sometimes huge amounts, sometimes less amounts. But eventually did a follow-up and looked at the spectrum. It looks like it's probably dust. It's dimming stuff like dust does, where the redder stuff gets through and the brighter stuff doesn't. So it was cool. I remember when it first came out, we were all talking about it a lot in my my department.
Maybe that's just a ploy there. Maybe the civilization knows to do this.
Yeah, to throw us all off.
Yeah.
Because we are the center of the universe. Because humans are superior, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
You heard it here first.
As a side note, I watched a retrospective on Farscape the other day. Fantastic show. It's so good. And the retrospective was great. And,
Humans
it makes me want to go watch it again.
I love Farscape.
It used to be on Netflix and they took it off.
And the last one I have is just another natural thing too. It's the Sargasso Sea, which is the only sea that doesn't have some kind of continent as a border.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a sea in the ocean.
Right. It's in the Atlantic Ocean too. It's where the currents, the way they move around, they make this like oval in the middle, and it's the color of the water is different there. That's the only place where you find the Sargasso seaweed.
What's the difference between a sea and the ocean? Like, what makes them different?
That's a good question.
Oh, what the good definition of that
Google
is.
that.
Nobody knows what that is.
No, off the top of my head.
seas aren't as big, obviously, as ocean.
Well, yeah,
but it may be the water.
I didn't know if it was like
the
the
water
salt
composition.
content or something like that.
Seas are smaller.
Yeah, well, yeah, we got that.
No, that's the reason.
Oh, that's it?
They're typically...
So then why is there...
they also have to be enclosed to some degree.
Yeah.
Whereas oceans aren't enclosed.
But by the currents.
It's enclosed by currents, which is really weird. Yeah, different salinity, different temperature, different water color. It's wild looking.
Yeah, it's a very deep blue, cobalt-like blue with exceptional clarity. I mean, it's like totally different from the... And it usually doesn't have the roughness as some of the other parts of the ocean do. It's usually... People will get becalmed there. That was a bad place to be if you were in a sailing ship. Because the currents and everything went around you and you were just kind of like stuck there in the middle of no wind, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta like force your way out, I guess.
Or wait till the wind picks up.
Or you die.
And it could be, or you die.
Yep.
It was...
Or get right on the edge and jump.
And the seaweed, the sargassum seaweed.
I was going to say, I was looking at that.
Is like a gold color. And
Yeah.
it has these big giant floating mats. And that's where a lot of the eels from Europe and America, that's where they go to spawn. Which I thought was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it'd be fairly protected.
I mean, it would be, yeah. Like a calmer, protected region of this.
Yeah.
I wonder if it has anything to do with just
all
the water composition, too. Like, it's necessary for them to go there.
It might be.
I don't know. Kind of cool.
Yeah, it is a cool one. I mean, that's not so much a mysterious place, but it's just a really cool place.
Yeah.
Weird place. And that's kind of fitting.
Yeah, it is a weird place.
It's a very
There's only
interesting place.
one.
I would love to go to all these different places. Actually, there is a book I just got recently when I was in Chicago, and it's called the Atlas Obscura. Got a bunch of different places with like weird stuff that you can go to in all the different places. So
Oh yeah, I looked at that.
it's really neat. The one here, like one of the places is the Fremont Troll.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Been there?
Yep.
You been there?
Oh, it's like you
Been
see,
there,
it's like
seen that. Climbed on top of it.
a few streets away from where I live. So pretty cool. But yeah, it's got all kinds of different weird stuff like that in there, and it's
And
got some of the
literally, we
places that we
walked from
talked
there
about
to your house
here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
Like, yeah, it's got a bunch of places that we talked about in this episode in that book. So,
That's cool. I have to get that book.
That's very cool.
I think strange places are really intriguing. They make you really think.
I want to go to some of them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a simple one. It's like, why are the white sands white?
Oh.
And they're really white.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
It's
I've
only
never
in
been
that
there,
one
but it looks
area.
very white.
In New Mexico. I have been there when I was 4, and I can remember it. So
It's the bone dust.
that might be bone dust. But actually, Dad still had, that was probably before it, it was illegal to take stuff out. He has a small container of.
Well,
Yeah,
unless
I
it was
truly
illegal
believe
then,
he'd do it
too.
even if it was illegal.
Yeah, I think it was. But this is a long time ago. It was like literally 50-some years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 50, 55.
Not telling her age or anything. Don't do the math, guys. Don't do
do
it.
the math. Don't do the math. But I remember very little about that trip. But the White Sands was one. We fed like wild burros out the car window. They ate sweet rolls, which is probably really bad for them, but that's what we fed them. I saw some wild horses and the Grand Canyon. And we were gone a month, and those are my memories.
Well,
How
there
did
you
you
go.
afford to go somewhere for a month?
I don't know. I was 4.
This economy is
I
like
went-
got
I
me
went for the
like I
ride.
got 3 hours. We're good, guys.
I think we were gone like 3 weeks. Seriously, they drove out, and there
That's
was somebody.
insane.
Yeah, is like in. It was they were going to Arizona to visit some family member. It was Dad's family.
Yeah.
And I do remember a giant bee chasing us in the house. Yeah, how giant it was, I don't know, because I was 4, so they were all pretty good size.
Yeah, enormous.
And
The biggest
they
bee.
did not explain jumping cactuses to me. And they wanted me to go stand in front of one.
That sounds right.
So you can imagine what I was afraid of.
Oh,
Just
they
gonna
jump out and get
me.
you? They jump
I
on you.
did. I was afraid of that because they didn't say anything. I said, go stand in front of that. They also put me like close to the edge of the Grand Canyon and took a picture. It's no wonder I have fears now. Edges. I mean, we're talking like no rails, maybe 5 feet.
That's funny.
Ugh, crazy. I'm surprised I survived.
So on our next episode, we've shuffled it up a bit because Mallory won't actually be able to come in for the podcast because she's going to her brother's wedding, which I guess we can excuse. We'll see. So instead, we will be having Chase Robertson back on to discuss The Passing Tales of Death, which is now officially published and you can buy it on Amazon. So we're very excited about that. And then next, we will be discussing Mallory's nonfiction pick, which will be I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, I think is how you pronounce that. I'm not really
What's
sure.
the name of it?
I'll Be Gone in the Dark. It's about a woman who wrote true crime stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Mallory told me that she ends up dying suspiciously.
Spoilers.
And I bet we don't have this book, do we?
I guess not. I don't know.
Gosh, you got to pick ones we have.
Hey, I did.
I
did.
I know.
All right. Anyways, so after that, we will be having Mallory's deep dive book, which is Rolling in the Deep by Mira Grant. And then after that, we will be having a new book chat. So lots of good things in store. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. It is time for us to sign off. But before we go, only the best libraries have librarians who don't shush you.